Welcome to Daggers and Shadow Daddies.
We're your hosts, Ryan and Adriana.
Buckle up, Buttercup.
This was a devastating ending. This is almost as bad as Iron Flame, the cliffhanger that it left us on. I was so distraught last night when we finished this book.
You are the only person I know so angry when a book is not tied up in a neat little bow, knowing there's another one.
Yeah.
Just waiting for you to read it. You seemed genuinely frustrated that this book ended in a way that would make you compelled to read the next book.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be more like Thorns and Roses, where it was a nice little bow with some incentive to read the next book. Not, this feels like it's in the middle of a book.
Oh, this is a much better book than Thorns and Roses.
Yeah, significantly.
I think I was okay when Thorns and Roses ended because I'm like, oh, it's over. Totally fine.
But we had to get through that book to enjoy this one and to feel what we felt, especially me, last night.
Yeah, just destroyed. It ended so great, though. Like, we've had some cool stuff occur.
This was content-heavy chapters.
All 10.
Yeah, very content-heavy. So much happened, sentence by sentence.
It was amazing. Even the sex scenes were perfect. It was, we had sex on a roof. We had sex before we left. That was it. That's all we needed. We got it. The rest of it was implied.
Chapter 60 starts with them back at the brownstone. They're all healing up. Rhysand confirms your theory that the cauldron is what took down the wards.
Yeah, I feel super vindicated in every one of these chapters, actually. I feel like you must have known, well, an issue that will, not an issue, but a thing that comes up later on. You must have known it because you were not surprised at all by it, and I was so excited that I was right. I was giddy. I was like, Adrian, I was right. And you're like, yeah. And I'm like,
talk about it. Are you talking about Nesta in the cauldron?
Nesta and Cassian.
Yeah.
In general, and then...
We knew that they were going to get together. We were guessing that last time.
Yeah, that guess turned out to be true, and I was like, hell yeah, look at us go. I'm looking for high fives, and you're like, yeah, this is not, we knew it already. So I'm assuming there was some spoilerness to it.
No, at one point I was looking up fan art, and...
Did you know that Nesta was going to be dipped into a cauldron?
When I looked up fan art for Nesta, I saw her with pointed ears.
Oh.
So when this showed up, I'm like, that's how it happened.
You were not as surprised as I was. I'm not going to lie. I didn't think that they would get dipped in there. Also, the size of a cauldron, it's the size of a tub. And I'm like, okay, wait, your tub or my tub?
Yeah.
Because maybe I'm right that it's hot tub sized. Maybe I'm wrong that it's like our tub sized. Either way, so many things. As we move through it, I'm going to just take my little points of vindication and joy, and I'll let you slowly crush them. By the way, just as a point of reference, it's a beautiful morning.
It is. It's gorgeous. We're out at a lake. It's pretty much just us two who are here.
It's amazing. In the trees, looking at the lake, cicadas and people on a pontoon. The two natural noises.
Natural lake noises.
That's right.
Back to chapter 60. So everyone is injured. Feyre didn't share her blood, was the first thing I thought of. She doesn't think of sharing her blood until Cassian has his wings singed off.
Yeah, she seems a little apprehensive.
It didn't even cross her mind to share her blood after this whole massacre. She's talking about how I think Azriel has a limp and Cassian is struggling. Everyone's struggling. Everyone's still dirty. I started laughing during this scene, not because they were all injured, but because in the last episode you talked about making tampon tea Feyre.
Yeah, and I stand by it. It would be an amazing cure setup. If she refuses to go ahead and do the tampon theory, she really needs to just like, I don't know, donate. You know, I think there's, 5 quarts of blood roughly in the human body, so she's probably got 6.
We are not getting into the math on this. Anyway, she did not share her blood with her team.
She could make Feyre blood shooters and everybody would be healed most of the time.
Exactly.
Yeah, so she should donate some blood. That's it. Moral of my story.
And I'm sure Amren would have been very thankful. She'd be like, wow, I was hungry.
Yeah.
And healed. We learned that Amren uses psychological warfare and torture to take out the soldiers.
Effectively. Dude, it was so badass the way that she described how she did it too.
Yeah, she just made them think they were in a completely different scenario.
Yeah, some of them she's like, oh, you're all of a sudden like 3,000 feet in the air. You better start diving. And they're like 30 feet from the surface, so they're diving fast and then splat.
Yeah, it was a great description.
It was amazing. She managed to torture some of them to the point where they were so afraid they died. That, to me, is odd. I don't know. Is that possible?
Yeah, clearly.
In real life?
No.
I didn't know.
Maybe
if you could
suicide.
scare somebody enough.
They kind of set it up by telling us what Amren can do, her level of power in both scenes. When Feyre saw it for herself and she would just point and they would crash and dive and just suffer and all that. Then when rhysand is telling her everything that Amren did, it sets it up for having trust in Amren to be able to protect the city while they're gone.
She brings up how the only reason it was effective the first time is that they were surprised.
Yes. Yeah, she's like, that was the only reason. Otherwise, I could have done it all by myself.
Amren seems to be not necessarily on par of power with the king, but pretty confident in her power against him, by the way.
Yeah.
Because she's just like, that shit won't happen again.
So you think that Amren isn't scared of the king?
Correct.
That she could take him out?
I think her confidence in her power, I believe she's believes herself to be as powerful as he is. I don't necessarily know as far as the forces they command and the stratagems and whatnot, as far as how that would play into it. But I think as far as a raw comparison, she's like, I can protect this city from him. She's like, I could do it alone until help would arrive.
Wow. Yeah, you're right. That is how it came off.
Yeah, she's a badass. I like her.
Then we find out that Feyre can shield as well as Amorantha. Rhys was very impressed. And the last time he was that impressed was with Amorantha, how well Amorantha could shield him out.
He's like, I want to throttle you. The fuck is throttle in fantasy?
That's right.
What?
You were so bothered. You were just like, this isn't really related to what's about to happen, anything with the book. It's just, do you have a problem when they use words like that? I'm like, what words? Me, completely oblivious. I have no clue what's going on. You're like, throttle. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that they have anything that word would relate to that I'm aware of.
Yeah, I don't think they have anything that has a throttle in their world.
It's interesting because in the other book series that we read, they would throw contemporaneous words in there for us to keep us interested. And then here it's like they're using words that are for us, but in no way relate to them. And I think that that's fine in most cases.
Because the point of that scene was to show how irritated he was with her, and something that you would probably feel in that moment if you were him.
Yeah, and I think if he said, yeah, I want to punch you, it would have been just as good
I want to sucker punch you.
No, I mean, she could see it coming even. He's like, I want to punch you square in the face. Thoroughly enjoying the book. Again.
Enjoyed. It's past tense now. We finished it.
Yeah, I did. I thoroughly enjoyed the book. It has flaws. This is one of them for me.
Amren solved the book. So there's one that's just the book, and the other is the Book of Breathings. There's two of them.
No.
Together, they are the Book of Breathings.
Correct.
Oh.
There are two halves. There's the yin and yang.
At one point, she has her hand on the cauldron and her other hand on the Book of Breathings, and then that book was just like, bring the other one. Do it. Bring it. That's when I thought that they were two separate books. One had its own name, and the other one was called the Book of Breathings.
No, I think they're both the Book of Breathings. I think one is evil and sort of mischievous, and the other one is joy and goodness, light and dark, you know?
Yeah, okay.
I think that's what it really came down to. And the cauldron's like
taunting her.
Yeah. Or maybe, no, I lied. It was the book. The book was taunting. It's like, hey, if you stick us together, this cauldron's nothing. We got this. You just stick us together and say your little magic words. There's more than enough power here. We can do what you need us to do. And Feyre was really consumed by that.
Did we ever learn what the solution was to the books that Amren figured out?
Well, Feyre didn't ever utter the magic words. She was too afraid to say them out loud until she needed to. And then when she needed to, she was so consumed with power, her mouth felt disassociated from the rest of her, and she was unable to form the words.
I think the book did that to her. I think the books prevented her from being able to think of them, say them, see them, all of it.
I think she was so overwhelmed by power, she was being transformed.
Transformed?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think if they hadn't removed the books from her, she would have been overtaken by that power.
Oh.
The way
yeah.
it disassociated her mind and her body and everything.
Well, and Amren said, do not join the halves together or it will bring old and wretched beings.
There were only two things that Amren said to her about this. Number one, these are the magic words you have to say. Rhysand is like, are you sure? And Amren's like, don't fucking insult me. I translated the books, dickhead. And then she's like, whatever you do, don't put the two books together because it will, the power will be so immense, it will attract not only the King of Hybern, but things that are much older and much bigger problems.
Yeah, that's when I wrote down old and wretched beings.
Yeah, and she's like, this will be even more of a problem than the King of Hybern. Don't fuck around with this and find out. So Feyre has two instructions. Does Feyre follow either of those instructions? No. That's our queen. God damn it. What I love about this book is it's kept one thing consistent through both of them, and that is Feyre, when you really need her and the chips are down, is pretty much useless.
Why couldn't Amren go?
She's the only one that could protect the city without everybody else there.
But I mean, if Amren and Cassian went on this, Amren, Cassian, Azriel, and you leave behind Rhysand, Moore, and Feyre to protect the city, why couldn't Amren be the one to break the cauldron?
Amren was not reborn.
Oh, fuck,
she was not reforged. So that's what it was, reforged. So she couldn't have been the one. Feyre has to be the one to read the words. But even then, Amren is such an immense power, too. They wouldn't have been able to sneak into the castle. Amren is the Billy Badass.
You're right.
Well, I think it's good, the way that it worked out.
Yeah, because it sets us up for book 3, not because it put everything in a nice little bow.
Well,
see, clearly, I am so frustrated with it. I was not satisfied with this ending. There wasn't satisfaction to it. It was just made me hungry for book 3.
But you got a Rhysand chapter. What more could you have wanted?
That did go well. That went better than I expected. That went better than the bonus chapter in Fourth Wing, I think.
Yeah, the Xaden chapter in Fourth Wing.
I liked it.
The bonus chapter.
Yeah, I liked this. It sounded like Rhysand the way that he would talk in my head, I guess.
I think we owe that to not just the writing, but the narrator.
Yeah, she did great. And I just thought the writing was really good. That, yes, that does sound like how Rhysand would talk to others and behave and try to control his composure.
You brought up, you're like, as soon as the King of Hybern catches him, maybe we need to work our way into that more naturally.
No, I think it's
straight
fine.
to it. So Tim Tam's working for the bad guys along with the queens. Big surprise. Hey, another 2 things. I guessed correctly. I didn't have to guess that the queens were working with him. We knew it because the one queen who helped him out was murdered brutally. But Tamlin working for him, I called that.
Yes, it's not in the way that I expected. In a disturbing way, I don't know how to describe it. In a disturbing way, the decision he made was for Feyre.
That's what I said. He still thinks that she was just under Rhysand's control. He thinks he loves Feyre. He's just damaged.
Yeah. And the deal that he made to save her could not have been an easy one. They were really, knocking him down by saying, you're stupid. How could you do this? But at the same time, would Rhysand do it?
Yes.
I think Rhysand would have made the same deal as Tamlin if he felt all those same things, that Feyre was taken by Tamlin in this instance and was being manipulated to stay or was a prisoner.
Yes, I completely agree. This is where I think Tamlin is a victim in this story. He's a shit dude. But in this one instance where you look at it this way, he's a victim.
He's so easily manipulated by the King of Hybern and Feyre.
Again, the dude was forced to wear a mask for 50 years. He had the threat of doom for his court looming over his head for half a century. I don't think you come out of that being completely undamaged. And then everything that happened under the mountain, I think still, regardless of if his coping mechanisms are as good as Rhysand's, which they're not, but I would say as a whole, it sounds like his dad was really fucked up. It sounds like he was raised in a fucked up way.
He wasn't raised by his family. He was a child.
What do you mean?
His family was killed. Wait, was his mom still alive? No, Rhysand's dad killed his mom and dad and brothers while he was still a child.
Nearly reached maturity.
Yeah.
Still young.
Yeah.
But this is what I'm saying. Look at all of the things he's dealt with in his life as well.
Yeah, no, you're right. Jumping back to chapter 60, we finished with Amren giving the instructions to do these two things and Feyre doing neither. And he shows her the ring. Do you remember this?
But yeah, no, I do. I called this when she went to the Weaver to get the ring.
You did.
And his mom specifically said she either needed to be strong enough or smart enough to get the ring to survive marriage, more or less, with you. And I think that was, I felt so vindicated, and I really liked the way he put it together. I enjoyed.
And he acknowledged it was a selfish decision to have her do that to see if she would be approved by his mother, essentially. And I just like that it wasn't, no, we genuinely need to go through all of this. This is for just the mission. No, he's like, yeah, we needed this, but yeah, I was selfish.
And I like how she addresses it. Feyre, some credit to Feyre on this one. She is like, so you made me go through and earn my fucking engagement ring? And he's like, yep, that's true.
And I know that's how she worded it. I still took it as a final way of his mother's approval of who he's marrying.
Downside, if you don't get approved, you die by the Weaver's hands.
True.
You get turned into a blanket.
Now that we know this, and that they've now officially said it, could rhysand have gone in there and gotten the ring himself?
I don't think so. I don't think it's a storage unit. I think she gave it to the Weaver. I think for all intents and purposes, that was now the Weaver's property. And in order to retrieve it, they would either have to defeat the Weaver.
Because I thought you could get your own stuff back from the Weaver.
I don't think
it was then
so.
protected from others touching it, because he says that do not touch anything else in that room because it is not yours. Like, even just bumping into it, do not touch anything because it's not yours.
No.
It made me wonder if the ring wasn't for rhysand, if it was always the mother's or to the future bride. But then as soon as Feyre touched it, bad things happened. So I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with it. I just didn't know if rhysand was allowed to go get the ring or even enter the home.
No, I think the Weaver, things are given to the Weaver, or the Weaver gets things, whichever direction you want that to go. And then they ostensibly belong to the Weaver. In order to recover them, you need to sneak in and steal them back. Or defeat the Weaver in battle.
Oh, poor Weaver.
Yeah, well, I think the Weaver's kind of a psychopath, too. They weave people into clothes. Gary is also not a hero of this story.
Yeah, true. I don't know. I just kind of feel bad. You give the Weaver something and then you're just like, now I must kill you if I want it back. Then why did you ever give it back?
I think that's almost a great lesson to have in this, is don't give away shit that you think you might want to take back from somebody.
Yeah.
I think that's ideal. You know what? Credit to rhysand's mob on this one.
Chapter 60 ended with a sex scene on roof tiles.
Yeah.
I was picturing like those Arizona ceramic roof tiles.
Yeah.
On top.
Like clay tiles.
Yeah. Very uncomfortable, easy to break, and also just not appropriate roofing for that location.
I would also like to add this, because I think you're right. I pictured slate instead.
Is that good
tiles
for a mountain location where it hits all seasons?
Yes and no. No, not really. No stone tile, as far as roofing goes, is good for a place that experiences winter, because moisture gets between things, freezes, expands, and breaks it, right? So you're 100% right. In an ideal world, that's not what you
see. That just ruined the fantasy for me. Just roof tiles in a mountain location.
I would argue
this book is done.
Even, I mean, to be fair, I'm sure they can replace them quite easily. They have magic roofing powers. But I would also add, aside from the utility of it being a good winter roof, the bigger problem to me is having sex on the slate tiled roof also doesn't sound like fun. My back hurts thinking about that.
And then if you have wings?
Yeah, that's, I don't know. Logistically, it's
I think we're just old, is what I've gotten from some of these sex scenes. Some of them are just like, ooh.
Yeah, you could have sex anywhere in the world. Pick a sloped, hard, uneven surface. Please. Bang me in the ballast. Fucking wild. Yeah, we are old. That's what happened.
Chapter 61, Amren's protecting Valaris. And more has a different objective than Cassian and Azriel, maybe, because Cassian and Azriel said, yes, we will protect her with our lives, and Moore says, I know what I need to do.
I took it as Moore will winnow her the fuck out of there when bad things go to happen.
Oh, yeah. The two will defend, and she will remove her.
Yes, that's what I took it as.
I pictured Highburn like the Hyrule Castle.
Me too. Yep.
After it was taken over by, what was the big bad guy in that? Ganon.
Yeah.
That's how I pictured it. There was what's that? How don't I remember the names of any of this?
I don't know.
What's the stuff on the
500
floor?
hours into that.
I know.
Which one? The Gloom?
Yeah, the gloom on the floor.
A Tears of a Kingdom reference.
Yes. Yeah, I have a terrible imagination, so I just use Zelda as a way to imagine gloom, dark castle.
I agree with you. The thing that really got me was the way the stone is described. It is as colored of bones.
Yeah, creepy, gross. It wasn't black. It was bone color.
It wasn't ivory. It wasn't onyx. It wasn't marble. I mean, she did say it was marble stone initially. Also, she's like elegant limestone as opposed to this marble. I'm like, the fuck are you saying? Limestone is not more elegant than marble.
It's not?
Izzy, look this up.
Okay. Yeah, limestone. It's like a matte, muted color. I think elegant is a good word for it.
For limestone?
Okay, maybe rustic. All right. It's like the Tuscany look.
Yeah, I would say if you're describing like, a nice travertine or something like that, then sure. Limestone. Tuscan. Sure. Limestone. Perfect. Castle walls. Limestone. Are you pooping me? You pick this matte, porous, granular stone, and then you're like, it's not marble, it's elegant. I'm like, wait, what's more elegant than marble, right? Or is it just me?
So did we end on it's all bone covered? Everything's covered in bone?
No, colored. The color of the stone is that of bones.
And Azriel and Cassian are badass as they move through this castle, just taking people out silently.
Another Ocean's 13 moment.
Yes. And the book is like laying down the groundwork as so Cassian and Azriel are going through, taking people out, just being badasses. And Feyre is being seduced by the books to put them together. She's just like, I don't think I should. Just like trying to ignore them. And they're like, oh, don't worry. Just take us home. Just take us home.
Really, just smush us together and make kissy noises. Feyre's like, I don't think so. And then she does, because she's a dummy.
You're so mad.
I cannot describe to you the way you feel about how this book ends is how I feel about Feyre as a character at this point.
Ooh, yeah, that does.
She's just a constant disappointment. Like, couldn't we have written somebody else to have thwarted them in some way? No, Feyre thwarts herself at every turn. I'm so bummed out because I was really starting to like Feyre. And
as she's gaining her powers, you seem to like her more because she can do more badass things.
Yeah, I'm a power queen. For sure. That's why Amren's my girl.
Do you think that at the end of this book, Feyre has hit her full peak of power, or is she still gaining?
I think she's still maturing in how to use them. Like, she has the moment where she uses the Daycourt's power, right?
Is that what it was? Is that like how she faked it? She just glowed?
Well, yeah. So she used the Daycourt's power to just explode into bioluminescence.
But how did she actually get the ward down?
So that, I think, also had to do with her Daycourt power and stuff. I think she was so infuriated that any limiter she had put on herself, subconsciously or consciously, to somewhat limit the power going through her so she wouldn't hurt herself or somebody else, right?
Yep.
Possibly. It's kind of like, I imagine, like when you go to lift weights, your brain tells you to stop before you get hurt if your form's good, right? You're not strong enough to hurt yourself lifting weights.
Oh.
Generally speaking.
I thought you could hurt yourself.
Only if you have poor form. For the most part, you are not physically strong enough to move enough weight to actually hurt you. Unless, of course, you just drop something on yourself. Your brain will not allow you to move so much that you're tearing muscles and things. Again, providing your form is good. Granted, that's kind of what makes power lifters and these super lifters different human beings, is they train their body out of that thought process.
So you're saying that she hit her peak moment of day court power, which broke down the wards.
Yeah, it seems to be the way that she disassembles these things is through conversation with the spells, which I kind of appreciate in a weird way. It's not what I wanted.
She had a spell on her, and I think it shows that the magic from the cauldron is alive, and she talked with it.
I would argue it seems to be the way that the magic, any magic that interacts with these people, seems to do kind of the same thing. It's just less personified and more emotionified. There's probably a word for that. Like when she wants fire, right? She has a certain emotional
connection
to that. She has a certain emotional connection to the ice and the water, the winnowing even. There's an emotional tie to these things.
Yeah.
So I would argue that for her, and maybe it is just her in particular, the way the power flows through her is more of a conversation with herself as opposed to a will to do this thing for this result.
Wow. That was so nicely said.
I could be totally wrong.
No, I think that sounded really good. I like that. That solved a lot of my questions. Chapter 62, the cauldron is everything and nothing. So they enter the room and they go down there and it has like a heartbeat. And she's about to read the paper. And we kind of talked about this. She's tempted by the books to put them together. Only one book. And that's why I thought there were two separate names for them. There was like one conniving one. And she was so convinced that putting them together is what would solve the cauldron. Do you think that she's still kind of right?
I think she probably could have got away with saying the spell and not putting them together. She didn't really attempt that.
Yeah, she could have tried and failed.
Yeah.
I loved that moment with Amren when they showed back up. She didn't care about the book. She didn't care about anything. She just kept asking, where is she? Where is she? And then she found out everything that happened. And she wasn't upset with Feyre.
She was pissed at rhysand. She's like, that's your mate. It would be like if you and I are married and like you're like, I'm going to
If we're married.
Yeah, pretend we are.
Let's pretend to be married.
Yeah, let's pretend marry. Her primary focus with rhysand is, she's your mate. Go fucking wreck the world to get her back. And rhysand is like, no, there's a bigger plan here. And she's like, she's not your fucking spy. She's your wife. Like,
yes, it was so good. And I was so emotional while listening to the book at this point. I was so
Amren is right.
Amren's 100%. Amren's always right.
I know.
Actually.
And honestly, it's just one more thing about Amren that makes her the most attractive character in this book.
Oh my God, what if the last
doesn't
book
fuck up?
What if the last book is about Amren?
Then I say we read that one next.
No, the last one. The one
Don't get. I will read whatever. Oh, well, then we wait to read any of these until we get Amren. Amren is the best character. In all, I wish the books were about Amren and not Feyre. I think Feyre could have been the side character. Don't you think?
I like Feyre.
Okay, here's the thing. I don't dislike Feyre for most of this book. But I think we can agree that Feyre is a pretty shit character in her actions in the last 10
young,
chapters.
And she needs to develop as a character. Amren's been alive for how long? You can't compare Feyre to Amren because Amren has so much more life experience and experience using magic. Feyre is a child when it comes to using her magic.
Yeah, okay. I think if all we're doing is using qualifiers to determine how much we should be able to judge these people, we can't be that pissed at Tamlin.
I don't think I'm as pissed at Tamlin as the rest of the people who have read these books.
I'm going to be honest. I am just as pissed at Tamlin as I think I've been since my introduction to Tamlin.
I am, but I mean,
I understand.
He made a hard decision that when I started thinking about rhysand, would he make it? And I think rhysand, if he didn't have his bond with Feyre to feel her, to feel comfort by her, even as he's talking, back at the brownstone, I think he'd be making bad decisions too.
Yeah, I think the difference we can put this as is rhysand was kind of in Tamlin's position before this. When Feyre was living with Tamlin and everything going on there, rhysand was in the same position Tamlin's been in this whole time. And he didn't go to the King of Highburn and make a deal to fuck over Tamlin.
You're right.
So while I think at this point, rhysand may make a decision like that if he was like, oh shit, this person's is manipulating my woman, she's safe. And I think that's the big difference. Now, if Feyre were in danger, I could see rhysand making the same decision Tamlin is. But Tamlin knows that she's not in danger. She's just, in his mind, being manipulated.
Yeah, he's a dumbass. I see Tamlin a little more like a meathead, a little bit.
Yeah, I'll give you that. He's not a nuanced personality.
Yeah, he doesn't have much depth to him. He's not clever. He's not witty. He can't see through the bullshit.
He's the straight man of the whole bit. He's really not adding a lot to the conversation, but you need him in order to have it.
Wait, we got really sidetracked.
Yeah, that makes sense. Amren's, where's Feyre?
No.
Oh,
well, even farther. Yeah. We bunny trailed. We're actually in chapter 62. They just entered the room was the last thing that we were talking about. In the book, or the cauldron, I think it was the book,
yes,
calls her the Princess of Carrion. I have no idea what that means.
She doesn't check bags.
Oh my God. Now.
I'm just saying.
I don't know what that means at all. And I wonder if we just have to remember this as we go into the next book. This moment is foreshadowing for something later.
Yeah, or it's a city name that we've just missed this time and it's been mentioned a few times. I don't know. We're going to find out.
I have the question in this section. Why bring the second book if it wasn't needed? She didn't put her hand on it. It wasn't used at all. So she put her hand on the cauldron and hand on one book. Why bring the second book if it wasn't going to be used and if it definitely shouldn't be put together?
I don't think that you had to put your hand on the book to use it. I think you save a spell in the proximity of the books. They could be used in that way.
Okay.
I think she happened to be holding the book with the note in it that Amren wrote in whatever her tongue is for her to read that spell or enchantment or whatever.
And then Jurian literally swaggered in.
Jurian is described as brown-haired Rhys.
Ooh.
The way he walks in, it's an incredibly handsome, dark man with brown curly hair, I believe.
Which is even more impressive that Jurian is a human. Wait, is Jurian a human right now?
No, he's Fey now.
Oh, okay, never mind. I was going to give Jurian credit for being such a handsome human because she only calls Fey this level of beauty that she gave Jurian. But no, he's a Fey.
Yeah, well, and to be fair, he's a handsome man. I liked the attitude of both Jurian and the King of Hybern. Rhysand's interaction with Jurian really cracked me up because it's just two of them trying to measure peep as they're moving. You know what I mean?
Oh, no. What are you talking about?
Their interaction was all about whose dick's bigger.
Oh, yeah.
And neither of them were, it seemed honestly like Rhysand was a bit on the back foot of this. Jurian was completely unbothered by Rhysand. And Rhysand's like, oh, you look good. And he's like, fucking right, I do. And then he just keeps moving through it. Like, he's not giving any extra attention to Rhysand.
Yeah.
And he points out, he's like, hey, I was conscious the whole fucking time as an eyeball. Do you know how much that fucks a guy up? And I thought about it for a second. I'm like,
it would be so fucked up. I wrote that down. He could not sleep, never sleep. He was there in bed with Rhysand every time Amorantha was banging Rhysand.
And how you know this isn't like a regular, real conversation is if you're a dude who just was cucking for 50 years... Honestly, at some point when you see him, you'd make a comment about his dong.
That's how that took you out of the fantasy moment was, you know what, this isn't realistic at all. Like, I can't even follow this line.
If I want to get under Rhysand's skin as I come swaggering down there, I'm like, what's up, needle dick? And then I just keep moving through it. Just to give him a little bit of a moment, like, what? You know what I mean? Even if it's not Drew, you're just fucking with him. That's how you assert dominance. And then Rhysand is like, I'm going to fuck you up. King of Hybern is like, nope. This guy distracted you so I could formulate this spell thing to choke off all your guys' power. And they're like, no way, we didn't see this coming. This incredibly powerful king who's been around since Christ was a corporal is somehow formulating magic to fuck up our magic. Azrael gets shot in the chest with an ash bolt that is covered in bloodbane.
Yeah, like a type of...
Is it bloodbane?
It was some type of poison that could be controlled by a spell.
It's the same poison that everybody else has been using, but the King of Hybern can control the flow of poisons and blood, I suppose. I don't know.
Yeah, he has this insane spell book is what I got from the whole discussion. Quick note on this, Jurian finds out in this chapter that Miriam is dead, quotation marks, and that she was mated with Dracon.
Nope. Jurian knows she's not dead. Or the King of Hybern does. Because they told the queens. Moore told the queens that Miriam and Dracon still live in this area. So,
Oh my God.
I think that he's aware that they're full of shit. And that's why he wasn't broken down. He was
Are
just
you sure that happened? There were two scenes very close to each other. There is more talking about Miriam, and then it's like a chapter later, Rhysand talks about Miriam and gives us more information about where they're living, that they have kids.
No, Moore told the queens. They still live, blah, blah, blah. They are living here. And the queens are like, how is that possible? And she's like, they're hidden in this remote island.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So either the King of Hybern hasn't yet told Jurian, or Jurian is also aware and was like...
Well, he did call her a liar, but it didn't sound like because he knew otherwise, but because of her tone.
Yeah, but she's the Morrigan. She speaks the truth. He's supposed to just believe her. That was like her whole bit before.
Yeah.
She's the Lorax of the truth.
I'm still so bothered by this information that you just shared.
Well,
I did not think of this.
it's okay. I could be totally wrong, but that's my version of it. Is the queens shared all their information with King of Hybern. We didn't find out how the other queen died.
I think she was just murdered.
I think she's going to come up again.
Maybe.
I think she will. There's something going on with her.
Yeah, it wasn't explicitly told to us that she was killed, just that she's not actually sick.
Well, here's my thing with it. What was the point of there only being 5 at their initial meeting otherwise? You wouldn't have needed that.
I thought that we ended on there were 5 there because they already killed the 6th one.
That was our thought when they said she's unwell, but it didn't add anything to the book. And it's only 15 chapters between we met with the queens and then we met with them again and then they kill the golden one. So there wasn't anything to be gained from that other queen missing.
Well,
unless there's more to her story.
When it came to all the queens showing up, there was only 4 of them, and 4 of them that were there to be turned into Feyre.
I agree. I agree with you that she's not a part of the group of queens anymore. I'm saying there is either more to her story or she isn't dead yet.
Okay.
Because there's no purpose for her outside of that. We didn't gain anything by them saying she's sick. And then the other queen, just before she dies, basically revealing to them the other queen wasn't sick. Like, yeah, no shit. We trusted that you left us the book. That's really all we were here for. We don't care about your inner workings.
Yeah.
Right? As an observer.
And their inner workings are just going to be completely destroyed. I don't know if destroyed, dismantled, some type of chaos from the queens getting immortality.
Yeah, and it's just going to be an exposition dump somewhere that'll kind of give us something. But I do think there's something to that 6th queen, I'll say.
Chapter 63, I started it off with still nothing about Tamlin because I knew that there's 69 chapters and I was just trying to take a note. And at the very end, Tamlin shows up.
Yeah.
And it was an odd... He was described as gaunt.
Yeah, he's depressed and not well.
I can't feel bad for him.
You don't have to.
I shouldn't. I feel bad, but I don't. You
don't want to.
I don't want to, no.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. I think what makes you special is your ability to express empathy in areas others don't. Tamlin's a shitbird.
He is.
We don't like Tamlin, but that still means that we can still feel bad, I think. It's okay for us to really dislike somebody and still not wish horrible things on them.
I think he's just so stupid. I feel so bad how stupid he is.
He's your Feyre. Only, to be fair, Feyre does have more redeeming qualities than Tamlin does.
Yeah. Chapter 64, Tamlin and Lucian are more, all right, discussing the deal that they made with the king. They were willing to make a deal with the devil to rescue her.
Tamlin was. I'm not throwing Lucian into this yet. Lucian is just a subordinate.
You're right. Yep.
And in Tamlin's court, that is a much bigger thing than like rhysand's court. Amren doesn't necessarily need to support what rhysand does, right? Or Moore or Cassian or Azriel. In Tamlin's court, if you're a subordinate, you fucking listen.
And Amren does not give off the same vibes of servitude to the kingdom and rhysand like Cassian, Azriel, and Moore, as she just seems like she feels like an equal. And she is. It's just she hasn't made a vow, I will give my life for your mate, like Cassian and Azriel. And Moore at the end talks about, you put my high lady in danger.
We haven't even discussed if Feyre's a high lady.
No, we haven't yet. We don't need to yet. We're getting to it. I was just trying to get at the servitude that Amren shows to the court is very different than what Moore, Cassian, Azriel's is.
Amren seems more loyal to that group of people than to the court in general.
And it seems less about doing it for rhysand, that her care for Feyre is true caring. Like, I care deeply about Feyre. Whether or not she is this person to you, I care about her.
I think of Amren as being, her job within the court is her job. And then she cares for her small family, her group of friends. The rest of the members of this court, that court is their home and their family. They care deeply about the night court, period. And it's not their job, it is their passion, so to speak. And for her, it's like, my job is to keep these people safe because I like this group of 5 people.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of the way I see it.
I buddy trailed there. So we're in 64. They came back up and they're talking with Tamlin, Lucian. They're talking about the deal. Another quick side note. I thought Azriel got shot in the heart or in the chest with an ash arrow. How is he alive through all of this?
I have the same question. He was shot with an ash bolt with the bloodbane or whatever it is out there.
Wouldn't just being shot with the ash arrow, the ash bolt kill him?
I thought it would. I thought ash was poison to these people, but it turns out everybody's surviving ash except for the bad guys.
Oh, no. I think at one point we actually talked about this. Regular arrows hit anywhere on a Fey won't do anything. They will still heal from it. A ash arrow hit anywhere but a fatal shot, they will just be severely injured, like if they got hit in an arm or something like this.
Okay.
And it's very painful and they're slow to recover. But an ash arrow to a fatal spot, like the head or heart.
Or chest wound, yeah.
Well, I thought a chest wound, but I think that it's not in a fatal, like, heart or head.
It's sticking out betwixt his wings in the backside. I think it's a pretty close to a heart shot. I don't know where Illyrian hearts lie. Maybe in their stomach.
I don't know. I can't defend it any more than I just did.
I think for plot, he has to. I'm glad he didn't die, because when he got shot, I looked at you and was so upset.
I was like, are you kidding me? They killed him off?
If they killed Azriel off before he said, a complete paragraph at any given point, I was going to be very sad. Because he is arguably the best character in this book.
Yeah, I was about to just end the book. Like, if he dies in this moment or even the next chapter, I'm like, I can't finish the book.
That's the kind of high stakes we're working with here. These authors, you're on notice. If you fuck up and kill somebody, you try to Game of Thrones your way through this shit, she's done. She's out.
We learned that Tamlin agreed to let the king use the spring court as a base, and that's actually going to happen. That's what's happening next. It is the king of Hybern is going to use spring court to try to take down the wall.
I don't understand how it's that difficult with the cauldron. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He could have just as easily been like, hey, Tamlin, I'm going to do this.
I think it would have been easier if he had the cauldron completely made, as he does now, plus the 2 books.
Sure, the Book of Breathings and stuff is helpful, but the cauldron made the wall. It would not have been that hard for him to have just taken over.
I thought that the wall was made with the cauldron and 2 books, and the books were destroyed. They were separated and put in 2 different locations to make it challenging to put them together in order to take down the wall. I think the Book of Breathings is needed to take the wall down.
Oh.
the King of Hybern at the end even thought Feyre had the books, and then he realized she didn't. And she's like, oh, too bad.
So they use the phrase cauldron boil me a lot in this book. We did see 2 people get boiled up by the cauldron.
Yeah.
Couple of Archeron sisters.
Yeah.
They went in the old dunk tank, and you're not going to believe this. Elaine, beautiful before she went in. She was somehow like even more beautiful when she came out.
What stood out to me was the king said, bring the beautiful one, and the guards
knew which one.
They knew which one.
Yeah, that had to make you a little... Imagine your Nesta on that one. You're like, I get it, but still, fucker, you could have said the blonder one. Grab the short one.
No, they knew. No, there was no question.
Get the flat-chested one, because that's the other way she's described, which cracks me up. Feyre's like, her tiny titties visible through her wet nightgown. And you're like...
For Nesta or Elaine?
Elaine.
Oh.
You didn't recall this?
No.
No, it was really funny. She's like, Elaine's out on the floor, and you can see through her nightgown and her tiny titties. She doesn't say it like that, but she kind of did.
And I think that happens in chapter 65. We found out that the queens worked with Jurian. That's how they got all that worked out. The king offered the queens immortality. That just irks me because, and Feyre said it really well. You two-faced bitch to the old queen.
Yeah. And I think it was accurate. What really blows my mind is why, okay, if you're an old lady queen, why do you want to forever be old, right?
Oh,
you want to watch your entire family die around you? Like, the idea of wanting immortality is such a youthful thing.
Wait. Can we back up a second?
Yeah.
What does Ianthe have to do with all of this? Ianthe was working with Hybern. I thought for Tamlin, Ianthe says yes, her sisters. Feyre will be more willing to go live with Tamlin if her sisters are there to live the rest of their lives with her. But I was very confused by the deal that the King of Hybern was making with Ianthe of there being a new world where it's not high lords in charge, it is high priestesses in charge.
He also circumvented the details of that deal by saying it's not important to mention them all here.
Oh my God, that's why I was confused.
Yeah, I think really at the end of the day, Ianthe's working with whoever can promise her the most power. We're not surprised by it, or were we?
No. Oh. Well, yeah, I don't know. I'm feeling so many emotions again. This is bringing up all the emotions I had when we were reading this. When,
baby, I love you every day.
After they talk about Ianthe's deal with Hybern, they clearly just gloss over it, and I was confused. Cassian's wings are like burned off, and rhysand says that if he can't get these wings back, he knows that his friend would rather just die.
Cassian's wings are heavily damaged. I didn't think they were burned off.
They're pretty well.
They're scarred up and singed up, yeah.
I think there's holes in them.
Yeah, a couple little holes, yeah. Nothing a court of Feyre won't fix.
Yeah, she's like trying to give him his blood then. I was like, well, now we're giving our blood?
Also,
is this the moment?
Why is it so hard to do that? It would take you mere moments. Cut your fucking wrist.
Well, she started doing it, and then the king, the poison started going into Azriel by her helping Cassian.
Yeah, I stand by the fact that Feyre could basically revive these people with her blood.
It was after the whole discussion with Ianthe that I was starting to clue in that Lucien might be mated with Elaine because he yelled stop when Elaine was being brought forward. I'm like, well, that's a little weird, but maybe you're supporting the cause with Feyre.
Yeah.
And then he's like really freaking out. And then he offered his jacket. I'm like, oh, I see what's happening.
Yeah, he wants to bang her. And they're mated, and he's losing his mind. That's his second mate.
Whoa, you're right. Can you be mated twice?
Or is the mating bond a soul bond, and his old mate was reincarnated as Feyre's sister?
Okay, I like that theory. I am just so... Again, you keep doing this to me, because now I can't even think. I like that he just called it out for what it was, too. He's like, you're my mate. And Elaine wasn't too bothered by it. She just kind of stared at him. And Nesta, she was bothered by it. She's like, get the fuck away.
Yeah, and I'm 100% with Nesta on this one. This sociopath that's been fucking around and trying to murder our people, murder and steal away our sister.
Oh, now you want to act all protective? Now you want to act like you like us?
Yeah, I think, and most importantly, murder him. I used to like him. Now at this point, he can be murdered. I don't
Lucian?
care. Yeah, murder Lucian, murder Tamlin, murder them all.
Both out.
Yeah, fuck it.
I'm curious
Scrap
to see
the whole operation.
I'm curious to see how things turn out in this next book with Lucian. I think Lucian's going to grow on us a little bit. And I really have been looking forward to talking about Nesta stealing power from the cauldron.
Meat.
Oh my God. That is such a Nesta thing. And I love that they said this, that she's just like, if you're going to throw me in there, I'm taking more. I'm taking everything.
She just pointed on her way of being dunked at the King of Hybern and was like, I'm coming for your ass. And then the cauldron goes to turn her into a fae, and she's like, oh, you're not done yet, motherfucker. Give it all to me. And she is so strong-willed, she sucked up more. The cauldron felt violated when she was done, is kind of what I got from it.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's like if you were having sex, right? All right, it's going to get a little graphic. Like if you're having sex and you've got off already, but the person just keeps going. It's like they're being pushed past the point where it's what their body craved.
Oh,
that makes sense.
Cauldron. Okay.
It's the same thing where the cauldron's like, oh, I'm going to give you this much power. And then she's like, I'm going to keep taking it. And the cauldron's like, okay, all right, stop. And eventually it's over that line. And like, God damn it, stop. I think that's kind of that moment where eventually you get punched in the face. You know what I mean?
It was just so badass. Oh, and Nesta was called the Hellcat.
Which I think makes sense.
Bring the Hellcat. I loved it. It was so good.
Yeah, she's awesome.
And then we learn more officially that they are mated, Lucian and Elaine. Chapter 66 starts with the queens. And I loved what the King of Hybern said. He's like, who's up first? Maybe you'll get mated with a handsome fae.
Yeah, it was more of a come on down. He really managed his way through that situation. And at this point, the way he interacts with everybody, I enjoyed. It was so arrogant. It was fun.
Yeah.
It's not until he's thwarted a bit that he becomes, I don't know.
Nesta kind of got to him a little bit there when she pointed at it.
Yeah, look of concern washed over him as he's like, oh, fuck. And then he's like, oh, we'll ignore that for now. And then it turns out he had reason to be concerned.
And it was after this, so now the queens are like talking about who's going first. They're kind of pushing each other. Feyre takes this moment, and I don't quite understand how she broke the spell on her or what happened. It was almost like she saw a gap in something in the waves, and she takes down the wards without anyone knowing.
So the wards weren't necessarily on her even. I think it comes
They were the wards of the Hybern.
Correct. Yeah, I think when it's kind of like the wall, right, that she describes between her and Rhysand, right?
Yeah.
It just kind of exists. And I think she's looking at these things and then she unleashes so much power, she's able to kind of break through and then search through there, the webbing, so to speak, of what's there for the wards. And she's like, fuck it, I can sever these bad boys at the roots. So she severs those at the roots and then immediately tries to distract the King of Hybern from noticing that those are gone.
And it worked.
Yeah, by saying, oh, get rid of our bond, blah, blah, blah. And so she gets rid of her tattoo on her right arm.
Yes. And this whole time, she had another glove on her right arm.
She's left-handed.
Is she?
She must be. When she was reaching for the lever under the thing, she had the eye on her hand that she was reaching with. So I assumed it was her right hand.
Yep.
But no, it turns out she's left-handed. Interesting. Sorry if that's not important.
I was so confused if the mating bond was actually broken in this moment. It was the bargain. Rhysand played along. They could not mind vibe with each other. So even though she took down the wards, there was still a spell on Rhysand at this time. Did this spell that was on Rhysand follow him when he went back home?
No.
Okay.
They're trying to keep their bond so slight and so under the radar that none of these other people can pick up on the fact that it's still there.
Oh, no, I was getting out. When she's acting everything out, she was unable to just tell Rhysand her plan in her head. They were unable to still communicate at that point.
Correct.
I think that the spell on rhysand was removed after the bargain was broken?
I think it's a proximity thing, more so, because the bond is broken and she keeps trying to tell him to get my sisters out of here.
And he's not getting it.
Yeah, it's still slamming up against that wall. I think it's more of the King of Hybern has an awful lot of power, but his greatest power is proximity.
Yeah, okay. Then it goes into chapter 67. The bond is broken, the bargain in this case. And she goes to Tamlin's arms and she's like, the smell of him made her want to gag, which I thought was so funny.
Which I think was kind of a giveaway that the mating bond wasn't really destroyed.
Oh, yeah.
That's how I knew right away.
That's a good point.
Initially, we're led to believe that he severed both bonds. But I think her reaction to Tamlin being what it is kind of tells you already that that's not how it worked.
And more takes the sisters, and I like how perceptive Lucian was because he's freaking out, but he recognizes that Feyre's not.
Yeah. Lucian and Moore are the two most perceptive people so far that are conscious in this situation. Rhysand's playing his part, but Moore immediately knows, like, okay, those wards are down. Get her sisters the fuck out of here.
Nobody needed to tell Moore anything.
No, Moore just knows this is what she would want done, and she fucking does it. Lucian knows that Feyre is not so simple. He's the only one of the bad guys that isn't completely underestimating her.
Well, I think he could always read Feyre too. Like when she was locked up, he looked at her and he kind of had this apologetic, like, there's nothing I can do. And then when Lucian showed up to come take her away the first time in the forest, it seemed like he could read her emotions and he knew that it was wrong.
I don't think it's that complicated. I think he's just doesn't have his head that far in his ass.
Like Tamlin.
I think it's pretty obvious stuff he's seeing. I don't think you have to be some sort of high fae to notice that the girl who's lost 40 pounds and is stuck living in a place that she keeps complaining about being in doesn't want to be there.
Yeah.
And then when you show up and she's dressed like these people, she's looking healthier and in general keeps telling you to go to the fuck home, that she wants to stay there. I don't think he's reading any minds. I think he's just aware of what's happening.
Much credit.
Well, don't get me wrong, I'm happy if that is the case, but so far, I think it's just been like, oh, he's receiving exactly enough credit from the book. I think you might be giving him maybe a hint too much.
Yeah.
Because he's not picking up on anything superhuman. He's just being a regular dude. And I think that's juxtaposed by Tamlin being such an insufferable twat waffle that he can't see shit going on outside his own brain. Yeah, and then he's like, don't worry, I'll take you home.
Tamlin seemed
goofy,
suspicious, but I think he wanted it to be so true that he wanted to believe it.
There's a moment after they get back to the house where Tamlin's like, yeah, you can come with. We're not doing things like we did them before. I realized that I fucked up. I wasn't keeping you safe by keeping you away.
Yeah.
And I think that's an oddly redeeming point, but you know he's going to fuck it up immediately somehow in the next book.
Obviously, but she's way more badass now.
Well, I think she's more powerful than Tamlin is.
Yeah. She is.
I would argue...
She is, because they talk all the time about Rhysand is the most powerful High Lord, and that Feyre is his equal in power.
So here's my other question. The High Lord powers, right? They're somewhat, I think, drawn from the land, right? The people, the environment. So when Feyre gets sworn in as that, does she just get a huge dose of High Lord power? Is Rhysand's power now split up?
No.
Or do they just both get equal shares?
I think it was a title.
So
I think it's a formality thing.
I could view it that way outside of the tattoo.
Yeah, but we've already talked about in the past that the tattoo isn't anything. It symbolizes something. Like the tattoo symbolized the bargain, but the tattoo wasn't the bargain. And then her new tattoo, it isn't her power. It is a sign of her new title.
How is there a title called High Lady when there has never been one? What kind of ceremony did you have?
Think about who told us these things.
Tamlin said there has never been a High Lady.
And then who said that there is?
Rhysand didn't really say that there is a High Lady.
He did.
He said there could be.
No, I think he said that there was a very long time ago.
Oh, I don't remember that.
I remember that standing out. I believe there was at least one high lady.
It seems like then why wouldn't you have shared that information with Moore?
Moore didn't seem to really question it when he did it, though.
No, I don't think that's the issue. I'm just saying it seemed like a lot of formality for something that nobody even is aware could be a thing. And you have two rulers of equal power. I don't know. I find that odd.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, because now it goes into chapter 68, which is Rhysand's perspective. And I love Amren so much. And Amren talks about how a mating bond cannot be broken. She's like, no, it can't.
He can't, is what she said.
Yeah, he can't do that.
She didn't say it couldn't.
Oh.
She said he can't. Maybe she did say it couldn't.
Oh, I don't know.
I'd have to go back through and re-listen to that.
No, I don't know. Oh, it just can't be broken. And Moore was just so amazing. She just kept asking where Feyre was. Where is she? Where is she? Where is she?
That was Amren.
What did I just say? Moore?
Moore. Yeah.
Oh.
You're good. Amren was deeply concerned for Feyre and a little concerned for the book. And the book is in two pieces again.
It is?
Yep.
Oh.
The books fell.
Oh.
From his jacket.
Okay.
Onto the floor. Yeah, it was plural.
Well, I know that they're going to be dealing with stuff coming after them, I'm sure.
I think they're going to have to deal with the King of Hybern. I would also add that whatever Amren was warning them against, that's even bigger and badder than the King of Hybern, I think what ends up happening is they end up having to do a team up to fight this really, really evil bad guy, an even older guy. I'm a little worried of power creep happening here. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Where the stakes just keep getting higher, but the power just keeps becoming more. And I'm a little concerned for that. And I think that that's going to happen in the form of probably either children or the sisters.
I don't know if it's going to be a power creep because we haven't seen Rhysand's full power or Feyre's.
Thwarted is the thing.
Yeah.
We know that the King of Hybern has the ability to shut it off because it's been thwarted like 4 times now. So Rhysand can't just come in and clean up any mess because he is incredibly powerful, but it takes a set of circumstances that aren't prohibiting him from that.
Can Rhysand and Feyre talk to each other and they're just choosing not to? They're just setting feelings?
Yeah, light feelings through the vibe.
Would she be too stinky of Rhysand's mate bond?
Yeah, I think if they're near each other or if they're thinking of each other, they give off a pheromone. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, oh, they're in heat. Sniff it.
The frenzy is happening.
Yes. But I think what's going to be really awkward is depending on how long Feyre's there. Is she going to have to fuck Tamlin?
Oh.
To keep her cover? That's why I don't think she can be there that long.
I'm glad you brought this up because chapter 69, it's essentially the same thing. We learned a little bit about Feyre manipulating Tamlin, Lucian's onto her. When I heard this, I thought the same thing. Is she going to have to sleep with him? Do you remember when I said, I don't think she took the contraceptive brew? I think she might be pregnant.
Yeah, I would agree. I think
whose baby is it? And then she pops out a shadow baby.
Oh my God, do you think she's going to be there that long? What is gestation period if it takes them 75 years to become adult?
Oh, I don't know.
She'll be pregnant for 12 years. No, I agree. I think she's pregnant because I think that's going to have to be the crux of either the middle or the end of the next.
Well, I think what kind of made me wonder is if she's going to make Tamlin think it's his baby in order to...
No way. No, because she couldn't take that experience from Rhysand. If she did, she would truly be the most awful character.
Okay, that's a good point.
As a father, I can tell you right now, no, it would not have been. There's no reason you would destroy the entire world before you'd let somebody else have that experience.
Okay, good. Okay, because I was like, oh my God, is she going to sleep with him? And then is she pregnant with Rhysand's baby? Is she going to be pregnant there and Tamlin thinks it's
his? Is that shadow baby having to fight Spring Splooge?
Oh my God, stop. Gross.
I'm here to help.
Yeah, that's it. We got through the book.
It was great. It was a good 10 chapters. Do you want to review your notes? Did we miss anything?
No, I don't think so. She's glamoring her tattoo because I kept thinking about how they're going to see her tattoo on her right arm, but she's glamoring it. But people can see through glamours. But I don't...
Rhysand could see through the glamour because he recognized her smell because of the mating bond.
You have to have, I think, some grasp of what you think it should be in order to see through it, because Nesta saw through Tamlin's, but she saw signs of the old past, like the different color blue paint and his claw marks of the day that Feyre was taken.
Yeah, she's Nesta. I'm so excited to hear Nesta's going to be a superpowered bitch.
Yeah.
I'm so stoked. If she ends up being super powerful too, then the way I see it, I will have Amren and Nesta as shadow ladies for me.
Well, if you think about it, Nesta was gifted being a high fae from the cauldron itself.
That's what I mean. It's raw power. And if you think of it this way too, what burned Cassian's wings?
I thought it was the King of Hybern that did it.
It was raw power from the cauldron.
Oh.
Raw magic, pure magic is what was burning him up. It wasn't fire. So.
Oh, and now Nesta is there with Cassian at the.
Well, she's hidden the kids, the girls. She hid them.
Oh, you're right. They aren't together.
I'm sure they're at the cabin or the House of Wind, one of the safer places.
You're right.
The House of Wind is heavily warded.
Yes.
I would assume that would be a good place to go.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just stoked. I don't think...
I still feel so emotional after the book was done. What do you think... What would you rate it at?
The book?
Mm-hmm.
The entire book?
Yes.
7. 6.5, 7 out of 10. It is better than the first one. So whatever I don't remember what I rated the first one at. I feel like the first one now is worse by comparison of this one.
Oh, yeah. And I thought that the first one was worse in comparison to Fourth Wing and Iron Flame even.
I would agree. And I don't think either of these so far are nearly as good as those.
But I do think that Thorns and Roses was needed to enjoy this book as much as we did. But I think it really could have been condensed by a lot.
I don't know. I don't know what that much really. I think you could have just made this Fae girl is found or turned Fae. I think you could have done it without all of the stuff from the first book. Tamlin was not a big portion of this book.
No, he wasn't.
She and Rhysand's back and forth wasn't super necessary. I think you could have made all the shit that happened in the last 10 chapters of this book could have occupied 20 chapters easily.
Yeah.
And been more fleshed out.
Yeah.
So I think you could have just eliminated all of the bullshit between her and Rhysand for the first 15 chapters where it's like anger between them. The only big thing that I think the first book really contributed to this book as far as what I liked a lot is Rhysand's entrance when they were getting married.
Yes.
The last book made that entrance badass. Yeah. Outside of that, I think this could have easily been worked into just being a standalone book.
Yeah, I don't know what I would rate it at. I'm bouncing between 9 and 8. I think a 9. I really like this book.
Okay, I'm going to give this an 8. I'm going to give it an 8 then, because I think maybe I'm going to give it a 7.8, because I think I gave, what's the one, Wings?
Fourth Wing?
Yep. I think I gave Fourth Wing an 8, and this is not as good as Fourth Wing to me.
Really? I put it up there. I think it compares in my emotional feelings to the book.
No, I really like, and I said I think it compares. It's just not as good, and it's nowhere near as good as Iron Flame was. I think Iron Flame I enjoyed to a much higher level, and maybe that's because of the position I was in listening to that book as well.
What position were you in?
In Iron Flame, I was driving to and from Yellowstone, having a great weekend.
Yeah,
that was a good time. Maybe that's kind of a difference. Is this is so broken up for me.
Yeah, because we did it 5 chapters at a time. I can see where there's advantages to how we read this series, Thorns and Roses and Mist and Fury, where we're doing 5 chapters and then I re-listen, and then 5 chapters and I re-listen. I think that is really good for me to take it all in and really enjoy the book. Instead of Fourth Wing and Iron Flame, we binge listened to that and just tore through it. And given how much I miss, even in this book, by just like, I'm looking for what I want to hear, then I go and re-listen to those 5 chapters and I get the full 5 chapters before I go on to the next 5.
Yeah.
But it is so broken up that you don't have that craving and satisfaction that you get from binge reading.
I agree. I 100% agree with you that you don't get the exact same. You get a more in-depth understanding doing it 5 chapters at a time. But for me, what sucks is sometimes it leaves us in a spot where I'm climbing this hill and, oh my God, I can see what's about to happen right there. And then I have to wait to look at it. And then by the time I'm looking at it, it's kind of not as interesting to me.
Yeah.
I really enjoy this book. Actually, I take that back. This book is probably at least as good as Fourth Wing. It's not as good as Iron Flame is to me.
I think I like Iron Flame more than Fourth Wing, but I think I like Iron Flame as much as I did because of Fourth Wing. It laid the groundwork of all this emotion to it, and I love Iron Flame.
And they were necessary sequels. With this book, the way I see it, I enjoyed the first book. I ended up liking the first book less after listening to the second book. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Through comparison. I didn't get that with Iron Flame and Fourth Wing. I like Rhysand better than Xaden.
Yeah.
As far as characters go, Xaden is not an interesting character to me.
Yeah.
In the other series. Rhysand
has more depth to his love for Feyre, I think.
He's just a more well-rounded character.
Oh my God, what if that's on purpose? Because it's only book.
Don't worry about it. We can't discuss that right now. All I'm saying is, if I'm just breaking down two books, similar veins, two separate authors, I would say character-wise, Rhysand and supporting cast characters so much better in these books.
Yeah.
The only major thing that I like a lot more, and I think this is where Fourth Wing, the Empyrean series so far, I've got to give it credit, is the threat is consistent, if that makes sense. And it's well-defined.
The pacing. I like the pacing a little more.
Oh, agreed. The pacing. And again, I like that the threat is well-defined and consistent. And I like the dragons better.
Yeah.
We don't have anything like that here that's sort of anthropomorphic, but not quite. I do think that that's a big difference, too. Taryn does a lot for me in those books.
Yeah.
But again, as far as the main cast characters goes, I might like Violet more than Feyre, actually. It's a tight race. They're both the same as far as the way they handle things. But overall, I prefer all the side characters in this book.
Yes, I feel way more connected and emotionally connected to the side characters in this. I have feelings for Cassian, Azriel, more,
Amren.
Especially Amren right now. She has my heart right now because of how she feels about Feyre and caring about Feyre.
She's got my heart and my dong.
Next 5 chapters in Wings and Ruin.
We'll see you there.
I love you.
I love you.
You're my bestie.
You're mine. It was a great time. We had fun. Now get out and go live your life.
No, wait. No. Thank you all for listening. We appreciate and love you all. Please follow us here, TikTok or Instagram at Shadow Daddies Podcast.
And then go live your life.
Bye.
Bye. Get out. We're done. This was Daggers and Shadow Daddies. Now it's my time. Toodaloo. It was fun for us. I hope it was fun for you. But that's all we've got. Goodbye. Come back in a few days. We love you.